Many years ago when I started sewing, I gathered together so many unnecessary tools for my skill level, spent a lot of money and created a lot of frustrations for me. Today I want to put together a shopping list for you on Amazon with the necessary tools for you to start your passion. Welcome. My name is Sylvia. I've been sewing for so many years and I've made so many mistakes, and I want you to learn from those mistakes. Let's create this shopping list. Let's see how much money you need to invest in order for you to start your passion. Let's dive in and see what's on the list. I'm also going to leave links in the description below for every single tool I suggest today. Let's get to work. First up, let's talk about cutting tools. And as we dive in, we go ahead and search exactly scissors for sewing. Fabric scissors are designed to cut through fabrics very smoothly without fraying the edges. Look for a pair with a comfortable grip stainless steel blades. Some of the most famous brands are Ginger and Fiskars. These are the two brands that I personally prefer, but they're very highly recommended by seamstresses and designers for the durability and precision. And remember, having a good pair of scissors can make a big difference, because you don't want something that frays. You don't want something that messes up your project, especially in the beginning. Anything that sets you back in your learning process is going to create more frustrations for you. So I would say start in the right way and add something to your cart that makes sense to you as a budget, but also has the right features. Read through reviews and make sure you make the right choices, but just come up with something that is going to make more sense to you right now. So adding this one is going to be a good one. I like it. I think it's going to be really good for you. Alongside fabric scissors, you definitely need a pair of snips. These are small, very sharp scissors, are perfect for trimming threads and making precise cuts, especially when you have very small, tight corners. They're especially handy when you need to clean up your work without leaving your fabric from the sewing machine. I do have quite a few. I'm going to add this set. Has good reviews and is going to be a very good addition to your tool. Next, it's a measuring tape. You need a flexible measuring tape, and it's essential for taking body measurements and measuring fabrics as well. Choose one that is at least 60 inches long, and you also need to pick something that is a non-stretch material to ensure consistency. You can purchase from the beginning an extra long tape, and usually this is a twice in length of a normal tape for about 10 feet long. It's used if you're going to do something like soft furnishings, or if you do want to go into bridal and you have to measure trains. Next, we have pins. Pretty much at this point, it's your choice of what you would like to purchase. As you can see, variety is fairly wide. I love to choose, because of the variety of use, I like the quilting pins because they're long and sharp. They have a beautiful bright yellow head, and it helps me find them, it helps me see them, and they help me, by being long and sharp, penetrate my fabric really easy and very stable. I also like to have around some thinner ones, a different size, that are going to normally be used for my bridal fabrics, for chiffons, for organza, for silk, something that I do not want to leave marks. Next, we have hand sewing needles. As you know, we all need to have those on around. The variety is fairly wide and the cost is very low. I usually like to keep a set around that has a wide variety of sizes for different needs. Again, I'm going to put links in the description below for all these items for you to go ahead and explore them and consider the need and add them to your cart, get them home and start working with them. Next, we have a thimble. If you do decide to have any hand sewing at any point, I think having a thimble around is very useful to protect the end of your fingertip, right, when you hand sew. So thimbles are available, as you can see here, in variety of shapes. Now I prefer to have silicone. I originally started with the steel ones, which are very good as well, but I prefer the softness and the flexibility of the silicone one. It's only a couple of dollars, but it's going to be useful in the long run. Sewing machine needles. You're going to make a decision on what type of sewing machine you're going to need, and we're going to discuss further on about a couple of choices in sewing machine. For now, it's important for you to know that there are differences in sizes and for different projects. Now, sewing machine needles are labeled with two numbers. First number, it's European size, and the second one, it's an American size. The larger the number it is, the thicker the needle. And the choosing size, it's use smaller needle like 60, 70 for lightweight fabrics like silk, chiffons, and larger needles like 90, 100, and even 110 for heavy fabrics like denim, canvas, and leather. The variety is very, very wide. I would go in the beginning, if I'm not sure what type of sewing machine I'm going to buy, get the universal one because they could be very, very handy. In the other hand, we also have types of needles. We have the universal needles who are very versatile to handle a variety of fabrics. They can be useful from woven to knit fabrics. Then we have the ballpoint needles. They design for knit fabrics, and ballpoint needles have rounded tip and slide very easy rather than pierce them and make a lot of snags and holes. Then we have sharps used usually for something like silk and tulle. Then we have the jeans denim ones. They are very strong and with a very sharp point, very good for denim. Then we have quilting needles, embroidery needles, and all the way up to 110 and 120 to be your leather needles. Always test your needles on a scrap piece of fabric before you go ahead. Now we come over to one of my very favorite tools because it turned out to help me in a most tough situation. And this is the seam ripper. It's also called a stitch ripper sometimes, and it's so good in removing the stitches that have been sewn wrong from the beginning or in the wrong places. There are different sizes available. I would also encourage you to keep them covered if you do not use them because this is going to keep the sharp point. This is so good to have a couple of these seam rippers around. They're not that expensive. I would also encourage you to have quite few around because it's important for you to go back and redo the stitches that are sewn wrong instead of keep cutting different pieces of pattern. Now let's talk about threads. The type of thread you use can affect the outcome of your project. But for the beginning, I would encourage you to buy some all-purpose polyester thread because it's such a great choice. It's also strong, it's versatile, works well with most of fabrics. Brands like Gutermann and Coats are so popular because they have a great quality and they're durable. You choose to have colors in the beginning, have a variety of colors, depends on the project you're going to have. Go for an option of a set with multiple colors. For today, I'm going to pick this set because I think it's going to give me enough. I'm going to add this to the cart, but I'm also encouraging you to get a bunch of neutral colors around in larger spools because it's going to end up being very useful. Plus, I love the fact that you're going to have all these bobbins that match colors. And I think $17 for this pack of 36 colors is really not that bad. And so for the beginning, it's going to be enough. And since we are here and we are such big spenders today, I would encourage you to pick a pin cushion, especially if I drape something at my dress form. It's absolutely necessary to have one because it shortens your time in working and looking for the pins around. In the beginning, I used to waste so much time by not knowing where my tools, my needles, my scissors. Now I have a system. It works for me, but I developed that system over the years. And I'm pretty sure you will do too. So let's add this to cart. It's only $5, but it's going to prove very useful in the long run. Next, it's a handy small tool, and it's about 6 inches long, and is called the sewing gouge. It's in centimeters and inches as well, whichever one is familiar to you. It's very good for an accurate measure for small measurements and such hems. And so as you can see here, it's really very cheap. It's not something that is going to cost a big amount, a crazy amount of money, but it's very useful. Have it from the beginning. Get used to having it around and use it every single time you have something small to measure. Next, we have a iron, but I'm pretty sure you have one around in your house, so you might not need to spend this money today. However, pressing is so key to achieving a professional finish on your project. Every time I finish sewing at the sewing machine, I go over to my ironing board and I press whatever I sew. A good iron, it's worthwhile investment, to be honest with you. And so look for one with adjustable heat setting. It's so important. And also with steam control. Not every single fabric that you're going to sew with needs steam. So it's important for you to have the steam control option. Now, Rowenta irons are a favorite, but could be more expensive. They do have a consistent steam output. They're very durable, but if you can't afford, don't worry about it. Go for a much cheaper one, which is going to do the same thing, but learn the function so you can use properly with the right result. Pair your iron as well with a sturdy ironing board. I like the well padded ones because it's essential for my work. This will help you press seams, hems, fabric pieces with ease. If space is limited, consider a tabletop ironing board or a pressing mat that you can store away when it's not in use. I keep mine around all the time. I like it that it's sturdy. It bothers me to keep putting it away, but I have a large studio and it's never in my way. So pick whatever you think it's useful for you and it makes sense for your sewing space. However, for today, I'm going to add this one. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. If you do have one, again, take this one out of the final shopping list and you do not have to buy it today. Having a couple of fabrics to sew with in the beginning and understand the type of fabrics, understand the fabrics with stretch and the texture, I think it's important for you if you're not familiar. I have posted one video where I was explaining exactly how I learned fabric. I was going through Joanne and I was touching fabric, reading labels and composition to understand things about fabric and get myself familiar with what I like. And so understanding that and grabbing a couple of yards to bring home and start cutting and sewing, understanding how they behave at the sewing machine, adjusting tension and what type of thread works with which fabric, I think it's essential in your learning process. So get some fabric at home and start cutting, playing with cutting on bias, play cutting bias tapes, play with everything you can. I would also encourage you to have some sort of muslin fabric. It is recommended for you to make a muslin version of whatever project you're going to sew in order for you to have the best result. Any cottons as a fabric for the beginner would be something that I would encourage you and I would suggest. I did not start with cottons. I started with fabrics that had a lot of movement. They shifted a lot, gave me so much headache. But to be honest with you, I wasn't picking functionality. I was picking fabrics with beautiful floral patterns. They were out of my league. And that stretched my process of learning by a lot because I had to go back again and buy more fabrics that would be more appropriate for my skill level. So get some fabric and start cutting. Have fun with it and understand it. Make it fun. It's not that complicated. Don't start first with chiffons. Don't start with organzas. Don't start with satins and silks. Start with something that doesn't shift a lot. Then you can move on as you learn. Now, we come across something that it's really interesting and a lot of people are recommending for being extremely useful for you in order to get some professional items sewn. And if you watch any of my videos, I mentioned before how I learned sewing. Everybody's recommending sewing patterns. Pick something like this pair of pajamas. They're very easy. The skill level, it's extremely low. It's going to give you a good start in understanding. And this could be your easy way to sew and it could work for you. It did not work for me. took me a very long time to understand patterns. I posted a video about me making a jacket on a Vogue pattern, and I made a couple of mistakes, and the end result was a disaster. So go ahead and watch that video and learn from my mistake. But if you follow the instruction and if you read really well what they put on these patterns, your result most likely is going to be successful. Even this circle skirt is going to be probably something that you might want to start draping in the beginning. However, if you do think you want to start on patterns, give them a go. And it's your choice if you do want to go that route. It's something that you don't know if it's going to work for you unless you try. Next, the dress form, something that you most likely not going to need in the beginning. I started by having a dress form. That was my very first present from my husband when I started this journey. I was so excited, and he wanted to do something nice for me, and I still have it. But let's see why we need a dress form. A dress form, it's not a necessity, but in my opinion can be incredibly helpful as you advance. It allows you to visualize your garment as you work, and it makes it easier to adjust the fit and the style. We have here some adjustable dress form. I don't think, in my opinion, it's such a great thing. It's not best invention ever. I had this one, I used it for 2 weeks. It's not sturdy, has gaps, I can't pin it, and so I returned it. I couldn't work with it. But I love these pinnable dress forms. They are priceless. You can put as many pins, doesn't have any dials. This is the reason why I prefer the pinnable one to the adjustable non-pinnable one, because it has all these dials. They give me stress. Then when you open the dials to expand it, it's going to have some gaps that I couldn't figure out. So this is my option. It's on the wheel, so it's easy to move. I think it's going to be a very good option for only $200. I'm not going to add it into this cart today. Obviously, as we mentioned, it's not a necessity, but later on I would encourage you to have one. Next, we have your resources, and this is one of my favorite subjects because right now we have all these resources available to us. We cannot learn on our own. I've tried, I wasted a lot of fabrics, I wasted a lot of money by thinking that I'm this superwoman that can learn on her own. However, while I was searching around, I came across a couple of things that turned out to help me tremendously and help me to be the seamstress and the designer that I am today. The one that I absolutely love is the sewing book by Alison Smith. Somebody once told me in one of my comments in one of my previous videos about books and resources, she called the sewing book the Holy Grail. And I absolutely agree. This book has everything you need in order for you to move from 0 to 100. Another good one is Professor Pincushion. She's amazing. The way she explains every technique and everything, I have learned so much from her. For today, I'm going to add it to the cart and I'm going to make it part of your shopping list. Books like Sewing 101 or Professor Pincushion and the Holy Grail, the sewing book by Alison Smith, will provide you with a very solid foundation of knowledge. I'm also going to put a link on the description below. The sewing book by Alison Smith is something that every beginner seamstress should have when they start their process of learning. Sewing machine is something that it's going to be something personal to you because you know exactly what type of things you need. What I totally encourage you, do not start from the beginning with something very, very cheap. Try to get something at least within $200 mark. It has a variety of functions that are going to be very useful for you later. They have a lot of stitches. Most of them have LCD display, auto-sized buttonholes, have sewing fit included as well. And anyway, I would say between 50 to whatever 70 to 100 stitches is going to be something that you need in the long run. Some of them are going to have the quilting unit if you think you're going to be into quilting, or they have the embroidery unit like mine does, SE400 Brother sewing machine. I think right now the version of the sewing machine I have, it's Brother SE 1900. This could be the one that replaced SE 400. So the sewing machine is obviously the heart of your sewing journey. And as a beginner, you want a machine that is so easy to use, but still offers a variety of features. The Brother and the Singer heavy duty machines are both very good brands. Genome is a good brand as well. They all have excellent choices for beginners. They are very affordable, they're durable, and come with a range of stitches that will allow you to explore different techniques with a different skill level. Never buy a sewing machine that is going to be good today for where you are as a beginner, because I can tell you in months and months from today, you're going to need a different one with more features, and then you're going to be frustrated and you're going to have to buy another one. I'm not going to add one today in the shopping list because this is something that you're going to have to decide based on the type of project you're going to make. Next, we have marking tools. Tailor chalk and water-soluble pens are essential for transforming your pattern markings onto fabric. Now, Tailor chalk is great for dark fabrics, while a water-soluble pen is ideal for lighter fabric. Marks made can be removed from the fabric with either a spray or water by leaving to air dry. Also known as French chalk, the solid piece of chalk in either a square or any kind of shape that you can find these days. It's available in a large variety of colors and can easily be brushed off the fabric. $8 is not that much. I'm going to add this set here for you because it has such a wide variety. Let's add this to the shopping list and move on. In addition of measuring tape, obviously, a ruler set includes clear plastic rulers and quilting rulers. So marking certain parts of your work is essential. So to make sure that things like pockets and darts are placed correctly and seam lines are straight as drawn on the pattern, some marking tools such as pens and tracing wheels and carbon paper, it's always a good idea to test on a scrap of fabric first to make sure that actually the mark will not be permanent. Also, I would encourage you to have plastic curve tools, also called pattern making rulers. They usually primarily used when drafting or altering patterns. Add this to the cart. It's obviously not as much, but it's going to give you a wide variety of angles and shapes that is going to be very helpful in the process. For today, we focus only on what we need in the beginning to make your life easier. So what do we have so far? We have your clear ruler set, marking tools, sewing book, pressing table, iron the gouge, pin cushion for the wrist, threads and spools, seam rippers, sewing machine needles. We have hand sewing needles, pins, measuring tape, scissors, we have snip, including the ironing board and the iron, which you already might have at home. $230. This is going to be the total of our shopping list today. On top of this, consider your sewing machine. Also consider your dress form. It's okay to start small and build your collection over time. Investing in quality tools will not only make your project easier, but will also help you achieve a very professional finish. Building up your sewing kit is going to be fun, but it could be stressful as well if you are on a very limited budget. But one at a time, I'm pretty sure you can put together that kit. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more sewing tips and tutorials. Remember, this is a journey. Take it slowly. Don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. If you're interested to learn a little bit more about how to sew your own clothes and how to start sewing, please check my playlist. You're going to find a couple of great resources there. In the meantime, I wish you good luck. Take it easy. Don't beat yourself up. You're going to get there. For now, happy sewing. See you next time.